and I had like shattered bones, broke all 5 toes, broke tib, fib, dislocated ankle. So, yeah.
In that accident?
Yeah, in that accident. So I pretty much...
Say that again.
Broke tib, fib, blew my knee out, dislocated my ankle, broke my talus, shattered my navicular, and broke all 5 metatarsals. And then, it gets better, because that's why I got that permanent pimp limp. But it was like 2 weeks after surgery.
He does have a pimp limp. How many surgeries have you had?
On that ankle, probably, I think 7 or 8.
In total?
Yeah, in total. And then 10 knee surgeries, 5 on each, a couple of shoulder surgeries, plate and 9 screws in my collarbone. What else? And then a plate in my other foot. Just only broke 1 toe in that foot.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny. Fueled by Monster Energy.
Hey, Bilko.
G'day, mate. How you going?
Blake.
Blake. That's it. Am I in trouble?
Blake Williams.
Blake Williams. When was the last time you were called Blake Williams?
My mum calls me that when I'm in trouble.
So does my mum calls me Luke when I'm in trouble. What's up with that?
It just makes you, like, act serious, I think.
It does?
Yeah, shit's getting serious. So.
Shit's getting serious?
Yep.
Has your mum ever taken you seriously?
I guess when I pissed on the trampoline, she grabbed me by the back of the head and rubbed my face in it. That was pretty serious, so...
There's your intro. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Blake Bilko Williams.
I was only a little kid, but I tell you what, I didn't do it again.
And we have Brittany. Thank you, Brittany.
Hello.
Brittany Palmer. And we have Danny as usual.
Hello.
Danny, you look good today, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been feeling good.
Brittany looks the best out of all of us as usual.
Thank you.
What flavor are you drinking there? Where'd you go?
Watermelon. Ultra.
That's your new thing?
Yeah, I like it. It's good. Watermelon.
When did we first meet?
Oh, mate, that's a long time ago. It would have been like 2008, maybe.
That's when you're on top of the world.
Up and down. 07.
When did you win your first X Games? 2009?
2009, that's the only one.
Do you know you're the first
Non-American?
non-American to win X Games?
That's it. They made it hard, but I got the job done.
And was that the last time the Americans won?
When was the last time he won gold?
Motocross?
Yeah, no. I think when I was doing X Games just recently, the stats were 32 of the last 42 best trick medals belong to Australians.
How many?
32 out of 42, like 80%.
Do you know why that is?
Because we're the best.
Well, it's because we all have a screw loose.
Multiple.
You know?
Yeah, multiple screws loose.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we were all kind of raised with the door was open.
Yeah.
We kind of had to raise ourselves.
Yes.
And
some people had a little more parental supervision. Some people didn't, i.e. Jacko. But yeah, we all kind of just tested the waters with stupidity and, see what hurt and what not. But it was all send it and see. So.
Send it and see.
It's crazy because we grew up like 20 minutes away from each other. He grew up in a town called Baxter.
Baxter's on the map. Baxter Tav, go get it.
Baxter's barely on the map.
Yeah. That doesn't even have a sign when you're going down the freeway. They skip Baxter with an exit sign. It doesn't even get a mention.
Like exit something.
Yeah, it's like the town before South and then straight to the next one. Just no Baxter.
How did you get into motor? Like, it's kind of stupid even to ask that. Everyone in Australia basically grows up in the ocean or riding a motorbike or a push bike. And you obviously, how old were you when you started riding a bike?
Probably about 7 or 8. So we live on 10 acres. So I rode BMX a lot. Someone owed my dad money and he only had a Pee-wee 50. And it was probably the worst thing that ever happened to my dad and my parents. So cost them a fortune in the end and lots of stress. But got that little Pee-wee 50, started riding that in between racing BMX, and there was a motocross track door next to the BMX track. I'm like, I want to take the bike there. And anyway, it was real old, and the suspension was pretty seized. At you. And then, so I ended up snapping the frame off a jump, and it pulled the spark plug lead and the fuel lead off, and the bike burst into flames under me.
The 50?
Yeah. So
the first time I broke my leg was on a Pee-wee 50. Yeah. I don't think anybody owed my dad money. I think he just got me one.
I think the bike owed you one.
But it was one of those red Hondas, and I didn't know how to use the brakes, so I used to just slam it into the fence, and Dad one day realized what I was doing. And then one day I missed the fence and slammed into a pile of Dad's bricks and broke my leg.
Yeah, the bricks are a bit hard. Fences are still hard, but the bricks...
I'd bounce off it.
It's like when you're a kid, you don't know how to use the brakes, and you just put your bare feet down and just your toes just.
But it was the Pee Wee 50 going on camps and riding to the fence. That my brother was into riding. Did you race?
I raced BMX till I was like 12, and then I always had a dirt bike to ride at home. And when I was 12, I wanted to try dirt bike racing, so I did that for years. And then
did you race at the Seaford track?
No, that was never a racetrack. That was a practice track, but it was horrible. And they used like recycled.
I raced there.
They used like recycled sewage water to water it.
Easy.
Yeah, Frankston. It was Frankston Motocross track in Seaford, but I mean, yeah, I went to Frankston High, so they use the same water at the school. But no, I never did any racing there. But yeah, grew up racing as a junior, and I love Supercross a lot more just because I love to jump from my BMX background, and that's kind of how it progressed into ramps, I guess.
Right. So. And then when I wanted to go back, so Krusty Demons used to come to Australia. Did you ever go to any of the Krusty shows? Did you?
No, just
they never really
just the
toured
videos.
America. It was all an Australian thing because.
But you guys used to watch the Krusty. You've seen the Krusty motocross videos,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like back in the day with Seth and you remember that stuff. So they used to come to Australia and they were like rock stars. It was like it was at a time when. They would come and they were doing arenas of like 20,000 people.
Well, you couldn't see it on the internet then, so it was when they came, it was your only opportunity to see those guys ride, to just see the madness, see dirt bikes fly through the air with the pyro and stuff, and it was just like, as you said, they were rock stars. Just every town was 3 nights in a row, sold out, just carnage, and yeah, people were just frothing to see it. So that's why it was Australia for so long, and you know, the Aussies just ate it up. It was right up our alley, the carnage.
And it was like Twitch and Deegan and, you know, Feist and the Flying Hawaiian.
Think Mars was there, Lynn Kogel, Mad Mike. Yeah, there was a lot of those guys out there. Yeah,
Remember when we spray painted Mad Mike Jones's trailer?
Yeah, and he wanted to kill us. Yeah, we stenciled his trailer at X Games.
We all stayed at a house together at X Games in like 2000 or something. And Deegan and Mad Mike Jones were staying at the same house as us, and Deegan would like ride the bike in the house, and this was like the heyday, and the cops came, and all the cops did is hand out their business cards and say, if you get in any trouble, just call us. And then that was at the time when we used to spray paint the grenade stencils everywhere.
Yep.
So we tagged Mad Mike Jones's trailer up. I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing.
sounds like.
I mean, we became friends with him for quite a few years after that. So
and then we became friends with Deegan and those guys like, down the road. But the rumor and the story I heard is that you used to go to these events and you used to sneak in.
Yep.
And then you snuck into the back area.
Full AAA pass basically. Back then it was just a wristband.
So what would you do?
Me and Cam Sinclair, my best mate, who's done X Games as well, we used to go there earlier in the day, and you just stand by the loading dock at one of the entries, and when the riders or people with a pass would walk down and pull their hoodie sleeve back, that sounds weird, and show their the wristband they're wearing, Australian thing. Show the wristband.
Brittany got it.
I got it.
Yeah, show the wristband, and I just get a look at the colour, and then go to the local news agency and buy some coloured paper, a bit of scissors, make a little wristband, and in you go. And I was full access for both
I feel
nights
like that
at
can
Melbourne.
still work. That's a genius idea.
Do you think people do that at UFC?
I mean, as long as you walk in any of those places and you look
But I mean, just get colored paper, wrap it around your wrist, and then we're going to every concert ever.
Yeah, they've got a little
Get a little hole punch.
Crap today.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be creative and make it pass for something these days, but back then, just a coloured wristband was pretty easy.
So you and Cam snuck in back, and that's how you first met Twitch?
Yeah, I met all the boys, Twitch, Nate, Deegan, Seth, Feist, all that. It just started hanging out, and just as fans. And then, the next year we came back, and I rode 50s on the Krusty Tour, just doing flips over the backside of the landing, like just carved out a little lip, like a step-up lip, and my head was about 3 feet off the ground, but flipped my 50, so I got to ride in the show, and then the next year I was riding big bikes on it, so kind of happened pretty quick.
When did people start flipping? Kerry Hart was the first person to do the backflip.
Yep.
That was like 2000, Gravity Games.
Well, wasn't there a Metzger involved there, though?
Brittany knows Kerry.
Who was first? Was it Hart or Metzger? Who landed it?
Hart, I feel like it's an inside joke. Hart
Very inside is what I'm gathering. Very inside.
He doesn't watch the show, right?
No, he doesn't watch anything.
So Hart did the first one, Did he land it? Did he not? I say yeah, because he's the one that showed that it was possible.
It was in competition.
He fell off the back, so what? Like
He didn't land it. His pegs, his legs were. He did. His legs were just a little.
he over-rotated and it pulled the bars out of his hands, but still,
It counts.
Yeah, to show that it was possible, and that made everyone else who wanted to step up actually do it. So it was just, I give him credit for it.
But he had to have landed it in practice. Like, he didn't do that the first time, right?
That was the first time in the
Oh,
competition.
ever?
Yeah.
And the crazy thing
Such
is,
a ballsy move.
and the crazy thing back then was there was no foam pit. There was no
mental perception that a dirt bike could go upside down and come back to its wheels. Like it was just not proven. Like now, you say, oh, it must be possible. There's 10,000 kids that can do it. So back then, it's like there's no way a motorcycle is going to do a backflip. That's just stupid. That's like you couldn't comprehend it. So,
but that basically then changed the face of what would become freestyle motocross.
yes, definitely. I mean, some riders, it stopped their career because they just didn't want to flip.
They couldn't go upside down.
Yeah, exactly. And it started with, it has to be a really steep ramp to flip because that's just what you thought. The bike's so heavy. So they started with the super kicker, and I mean, now that thing barely gets used. And, you can flip anything. You see Travis Pastrana flips off a 2-foot pile of dirt and flips that, no worries. So we really need a really steep ramp just to get a dirt bike to flip. Then, okay, it flip bigger gaps, and then it's like now a backflip's just second nature.
And do you think that they started designing the bikes differently, knowing that those tricks are going to be done, like lighter bikes? Like, is that something, or are they always equally?
It's pretty much a stock bike you can do on freestyle, but now you've got Levi Shield from New Zealand. He's done a lot of stuff. He's built his own freestyle motocross bike that's basically all the weight gone, shorter wheelbase, but it's like he built it himself, and he spent about $70,000 just.
I do
it
like
from the
bigger
ground
wheels, like maybe 2 in the back, and just really like sit like.
It's like
I think
30
it's
pounds
Like training
lighter.
wheels.
Yeah, training wheels.
I think you want it lighter, right?
Yeah, lighter, shorter wheelbase, sort of rotate quicker. But his bike's like 30 pounds lighter. He's
Where's he been lately? Has he not left New Zealand since COVID?
Yeah, even before that, he's kind of retired from competition, so he just fiddles around at his farm and in his spare time make stuff out of carbon fibre, titanium, and basically build his own dirt bike, which is pretty crazy. But that thing is so light, it's like a Formula One car of dirt bike specifically for freestyle. But unless everyone has that equipment, which is too expensive, it's we're all kind of doing it on the stock bikes, basically. You only need a few modifications just to get out there and do what we do. It's just how gnarly you want to get with all that stuff.
So you started flipping the Krusty Demons tour on a 50. How old were you?
I was like maybe 19, I think, 18 or 19.
And that's what you learned to flip on, like a little...
Yeah, I started BMX in the water, mini bikes, and then the first time I did a flip on a big bike, I hadn't ridden big bikes for 6 months. I broke both my wrists at a Supercross. Made life interesting. But, so I broke both my wrists, and I was just working and riding mini bikes. I didn't really have much... Not interested, but hadn't really got on my big bike, hadn't even ridden it. And my buddy Cam had wanted to flip. He'd tried a couple of times. He's like, I'm going to try this weekend.
How old? What's the age difference between you and Cam Sinclair?
Just a year.
Oh, just a year. Oh, so he's our age.
Yep. So he's like, I'm going to try flip this weekend. I'd put my mini bike in. I threw my my boots in.
Your big boot?
Yeah, my big boots, big boy boots. And then he was like, I'm in an R, and we had a jacked up ramp with some hay on the landing, and he was, he just wasn't going to do it. So I'm like, give me your bike, and jumped on it and rode it around a bit, and then ended up landing my first flip that day on his bike. So did 4 that day. And
First day?
Yeah.
You did it before him?
Yeah, and on his bike. So
did you ever do a double flip?
Nah, only in the foam pit. That was like right at the end of my career as far as pushing it to the next level, trying gnarly stuff in the foam pit and rolling the dice. I got happy with riding all year. Back in the day, it was like, all right, doesn't matter if I get hurt, I'm just going to send it and see. And yeah, then I realised that it's good to ride for the whole year and not get injured. So yeah, I sent it a lot back in the day, in my contest days. It was like podium or ambulance for about 5 years straight. So I didn't realise that you could get 6th or 8th place and it was okay, and you could go to the next round of G Tour and maybe make up for it. It was, I'm like, shit, if I don't do good, I'm going to go back to Australia and be forgotten about and not get any sponsors. So I've just got to send it. And it wasn't good because as I said, it was a podium or an ambulance. And yeah, I wish I made a lot more wiser decisions in my early competing days.
So you started doing the Krusty, you started flipping on Krusty, you started hanging out with those guys. When did you start coming here and competing on the big bikes?
2006, I flew myself over and did the IFMAs. You ever hear of those? They were old freestyle motocross. I think Feld ran them, and they were just in small stadiums. At the start of the year, there was like 15 or 20 of them in the first few months of the year. It was actually really good.
A lot of events.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not many events now.
There's pretty much nothing. So I just flew over there on the East Coast, stayed with Mad Mike, and went to 3 of them. Could have podiumed at all of them probably, but it was my first contest. It just made a couple of mistakes. One, I landed on my head, like tried to flip and pulled the clutch in on the lip because I'd never jumped the double. And so when I landed off the first one, I never flipped with my fingers on the clutch. I know now why, because when I hit the second ramp, I went back to flip. I pulled the clutch in and the bike didn't drive. And so I did 2/3 of a flip, landed on my front fender. So after that day, I said, don't flip with your fingers on the clutch. But that was a hard lesson to learn. It was in the middle of a contest because, as I said, it was the first time I hit a double. But ended up getting 1 podium out of that. But in the meantime, at home in Australia, I was practicing in the foam pit a lot, and I learnt the cliffhanger flip, and then that got me an invite to 06 X Games.
Yep.
So that's where it all kind of just took off from there. But I was still working full time at this point.
What were you doing?
An apprentice fitter and turner for my dad's business. So.
It's kind of a thing in Australia. Where we're from. It's like if you can do what we do and get out of there, otherwise you're an apprentice and you're going to build or plumb or.
Well, that was my plan.
You're digging holes of some sort.
Yeah, that was my plan all along. I never thought dirt bikes would be a thing, and so I just kept working. And in the end, my dad walked in the factory one day and had a welding mask down. And I was just leaning on the bench, clearly not welding, just kind of hide and daydreaming. And he walked up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I was thinking about riding this weekend." And he's like, "Yeah, your heart's not in it." So he let me finish my schooling and stuff, and then quit my job, and then it was just full-time dirt bikes. So.
Yep. When so 2006 X Games, what did you place?
Well, I got 3rd, but it was the year Travis did the double, so it was pretty insane. It was just an insane event to be at. The thing that sucked the most is it was my first year, and at the end of the contest, I was sitting in second, tied for second, and then Travis did the double, and I was tied for 3rd. And because the whole stadium went mental for like 15 minutes and everyone's cheering and celebrating, because it was insane to be there and witness Travis do it, I was tied for 3rd, so I didn't know if I got 3rd or 4th. And like everyone I'm asking, like, did I get 3rd or 4th? And they're like, yeah, Travis, that was sick. And I'm like, I know, like, X Games is a big deal, obviously, and I know there's a huge fucking difference between 3rd and 4th. Like, you're on the podium, you're in the press conference, everyone remembers you, or 4th place, you're driving home pissed. I'm like, someone just tell me if I got 3rd or 4th, because I either want to leave or I want to celebrate. And it took like 20 minutes or like half an hour before they even told me I got 3rd, and by then things had kind of settled down a bit. But yeah, it kind of sucked having to wait that long, but Travis did a double, so I was happy to wait.
And what did you do?
Cliffhanger backflip.
Cliffhanger backflip. Were you the first person to land the 360?
Not the 360. Deegan did the first.
Deegan did the 360. Were you there when Deegan snapped his femur on the 360 on the snow?
On the snow. That was crazy.
Did you ever ride the snow jumps?
No. Thank God I never did, because back then when I was on the 250 4-strokes, a little bit slower, I didn't know anything about elevation, and obviously
you didn't know anything about elevation.
No, I mean,
Baxter.
Yeah,
like as far as partying at elevation or riding motocross.
Everything. Yeah, Ayers Rock's the highest thing I've been to. But no, so I had no idea. Like when you ride at Colorado or something, your bike runs like 30% slower because there's no oxygen. So yeah, being at Aspen, if you went to Winter X, I would have been there on my little 250F. I probably wouldn't have made the jump. But yeah, it happened at Denver one time. I just flew in and bought a brand new bike from the shop, same as my bike at home. I think this would be sweet. Rode out in practice. I'm like, what is wrong with this thing? And I thought, I'll get a flip out the way, even though the bike's not running that good. Landed upside down, cartwheeled, but yeah. And then they're like, yeah, you're at elevation, your bike runs slower. I'm like, why? I'm like, it's no oxygen. I'm like, okay, that's a good lesson to learn.
So then you perfected the 360?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I started doing a 45. I did a heel clicker 360 off 45 foot, then just went to 75 foot, and then invented a bunch of combos off that. So, yeah, but I've been doing those now since 2006 was the first one I landed off 45 and 75 foot. And then, I mean, I can do them pretty naturally. I see other riders try and learn them in the foam pit and struggle to get the rotation right and stuff. And I don't know, I just had a knack for it straight away. And it's something that I feel real comfortable doing. So,
and at that point in time, you guys were kind of like rock stars at that point. I think like that moment in time with X Games and Travis Pastrana kind of leading the way. you guys had this moment, this run for a certain amount of time when then you started winning, X Games golds in those moments. How much did your life change from like when you grew up to becoming pro? And there was pretty good money starting to come back in right then, but already, like the arenas were full, and it's a lot different now than it was, say, 12 years ago.
Totally different. The biggest thing, like, nothing really changed in Australia. It did a little bit. I mean, once I got on the Krusty Tour and stuff, we weren't, say, rock stars like Deegan and that was. That was like the American crew that come over and did all the carnage for the first couple of years. So we, tagged on the end of those tours. I did Krusty 05 through to 2009. So that was pretty cool, like, rock star status a little bit in Australia, getting to travel around, party, stay on tour for the first time ever. So that was, that was a lot of fun and an eye-opener.
Who got in the most trouble on tour?
I mean, even Jacko did a little bit, but, Mad Mike definitely, he had a screw loose. We all got in a little bit of trouble. Funny story, Cam Sinclair, one of my buddies, I threw something on his balcony, I won't say what, from one to another, and then he got home that night, and he thought, it was like 3 a.m, we all had our shirts ripped off, and he's like, I'll squirt him with the fire extinguisher. So he grabbed one, and he snuck down the hallway and knocked on my door, and it opened, and he's blasted it, but it was the powder one. And next thing, the fire alarm went off. I'm like, oh shit, slammed the door. And then I didn't hear anything except for the fire alarm, of course. And I opened the door and he's still standing there with a stupid look on his face with the fire extinguisher in his hand. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Get out of here, go hide. And then next thing, there's a guy in his jocks with a kid under each arm just heading for the stairs. And the whole thing got evacuated.
That's Cam running out with his kids?
No, someone else, like a general person. And then fire trucks rocked up and everything, and I just stayed in my room, and the fire alarm was going off. And it was pretty funny. Someone from our crew figured out that if they pressed the intercom button in the lobby, it'd stop the fire alarm, but they could actually talk. So you hear it, and then you hear like a bit of back chat. Wait, I think it stopped. And then took the finger off the button. It's all woo, woo, and they pressed it again. They're like, hello, check. Oh, that was Cam Sinclair. What a fucking dickhead. Across the a PA system through the whole hotel, and every speaker in every room, and I heard that. And anyway, because he was hiding in his room, but he got busted for that. That was pretty funny. But
I feel like what could happen to him? Like, what would bust it? I mean, we'd get a slap on the wrist, right?
You got to pay like the call out fee for making the fire trucks come out and stuff. And then I think everyone that wanted a refund for their accommodation that night. So
you had to pay that?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to bring out fire trucks?
I don't know.
Let's do it.
In Australia,
I'm just wondering, asking for a friend.
In Australia, they're volunteers, so they're not on a full-time.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Most of our parents are volunteer firefighters. That's like the world we come from.
Now we see why.
So that's as far as trouble. We all got in a little bit of trouble. Nothing too serious. There was a couple of rental cars burnt down. One burnt down. That was pretty funny.
How'd that burn down?
We had remote control cars, and they had the battery chargers, like the suicide leads that you just clip straight on the car battery into the little remote control one. And one of the dudes forgot about it, and it was out the front of the hotel in a 12-seater minivan where the engine's under the passenger seat inside. So I was like in the last room by the lobby, and I hear all this commotion. I look out and I see like the fire hose, someone's spinning the reel, and the fire hose is going out the front door. I'm like, geez, what's going on here? And I run out, and the fire hose had reached like full reach, and it was squirting up in the air about 5 cars away. And you see this white van that looked normal on the outside, but all the windows were really black, and you could see this like glowing light on the inside, which was the fire. And the dude was just squirting it up in the air, and it was hitting the outside of the window and doing absolutely nothing because the fire was inside. So the other rider comes out and he picks up a rock and he threw it through the passenger window, went out the driver's window and hit the car beside. But at least then they could put the fire out. But the
window's broken?
Yeah.
The fire was in the hole in the window?
Yeah, so anyway, put that out. But that was a write-off, and because the engine cover was up, they had to pay for it. The insurance company wouldn't cover it.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah. So that wasn't me. So just
how's your ride on lawnmower doing?
It's good. I haven't done any lawn art lately. So So did you see that one?
The lawn art. I don't know if I've seen it. Can we get a video of it?
Yeah, we can get a video. My buddy was picking me up in his chopper, so I wrote a message for my dad in the lawn before we took off, and it was pretty good. We'll throw that up there now. But drew a large object. So.
We gotta see this object.
But
I reckon it's like
it's about this big.
got a shape, little thing hanging
Two
off the
tea
bottom of
bags.
it.
I get it.
Couple tea bags.
Yep, that's it.
Who were your influences growing up?
I mean, I like all those guys like Deegan, Feist, Twitch. Love watching those guys. Nate, studying all these tricks and everything. But Travis was like, he was crazy, like everything he did, Supercross, freestyle. He was just, the one you looked up to for everything like that. So, yeah, it was wild too because he'd only do freestyle for like a month of the year. Then he'd go race, do whatever, and then X Games is coming up. So he'd practice for like 3 weeks, a month, come out, smoke everyone, and then not hit a ramp for another 9-10 months.
After spending time with him, because he's, arguably one of the, greatest athletes of all time, however you want to look at it. Where do you think he is? Where's his headspace when he does when he? Because I have friends that go to his property and get scared and you're forced to do these things, and it's not you're not forced, but it's like you're at Travis Fasano's property and the next thing you know you're 50 feet.
Everything's a good idea, and he's very convincing when he tells you to try something. I just tell him to piss off, and he knows not to ask me, but anyone else I better impress Trav. He said hit that third gear wide on a 110, next thing the leg's facing the other way. And
Do you have to sign a waiver before?
Yeah.
Before you walk in his house?
There's all
One of those, yeah.
all the way.
Yeah, and you want to make sure your insurance is good, right?
Up to date. Make sure you're up to date.
How is it with you guys getting insurance for what you do as a job?
Yeah.
Mine's pretty damn expensive. I've had the same. I've had the same insurance for a long time because it's a.
Is it RACV?
Yeah. Got it in a local ad in the local newspaper. No, because it's worldwide. So I get one free MediJet evacuation flight per year, but I haven't used it yet, thankfully.
This year or ever?
Ever. So, yeah, one a year I get a freebie. But, yeah, that insurance covers me worldwide for, any time I'm in hospital or if I've got to get out of the country, they can get me out of the country. So it's pretty pricey, but, I mean, it's... If you own a Ferrari, you don't get insurance for a Prius.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm a Ferrari. I'm saying that sport's dangerous. So if you're going to do something dangerous, then insure yourself properly.
Yep.
So don't half do it and then start a GoFundMe because your insurance won't cover you for your surgery. It's like if you're playing with fire, you're going to get burnt.
What do you think about that? It's crazy. We live in a time where the GoFundMe is a thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously there are people there that need it, and then there are also people that just abuse the shit out of that thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're struggling, I get it, I'll help. But if you travel somewhere where your insurance isn't valid or something, and then you get hurt, and then you're like, oh, I need help now. It's like you're the one that chose there, and you were going there, and you're probably making good money when you were. So why not pay that little bit extra to make sure you're insured while you're there? So. But this is what it is. But yeah, if someone genuinely needs help, I'm always there to help out.
Yeah. You've had a lot of injuries.
Just a couple.
How many?
42 broken bones.
42 broken bones?
Wow. 42, dude.
How many
That's your
bones you broke?
California accent. I fractured a pelvis. That's as far as we've gotten.
She had a pretty gnarly accident.
I fractured my pelvis in 3 places. That's where I went.
What about you?
Which is actually impressive because your pelvis is a very thin bone, so usually just shatters. So I'm actually impressed with the strength of my pelvis.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
You got a strong pelvis. It's hard to break down. I remember actually, I haven't had as many broken bones, but I remember, years ago when I first met you, actually, I was kind of feeling bad for myself because I had to have my first knee surgery, only one. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this sucks. I'm at the height of my career. I'm going to get this knee surgery. And then I meet you and you're laughing at me. You're like, are you kidding me? I'm going on my 4th ACL surgery. And I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's doing just fine.
These aren't even my knees anymore,
Yeah, okay, so the human body can be repaired. So it was actually pretty uplifting, and you changed my attitude.
I'm like a cat. I always land on my feet. I've never been knocked unconscious. I've been dazed, but yeah, always land on my feet, which sucks because, I've shattered my ankle, done both my knees multiple times. Yeah, until a few years ago, 90% of my injuries were from the knees down. So it was... But yeah, the worst was Baltimore 07, and I did it showing off. All my injuries are from doing dumb shit. After I won X Games, I didn't know I'd won yet, but after my last run, I ghost rode my bike and blew my ACL. Afterwards, yeah. And then jumping a BMX in Nitro off the Giganta ramp, over-rotated, blew a knee out. And then Baltimore 07 due to it after halfway through my run, it was windy. I was already guaranteed a podium. I stuffed something up, and instead of pulling off, I'm like, hey, I'm doing roller flips. Check this shit out. And then over rotated, shattered my ankle to bits, and that's the one that screwed me because I was in Baltimore hospital for 3 days, and it was too swollen to operate. They're like, all right, we need your bed. There's some dudes that have been shot and stabbed, but basically just kicked me out. And it was my first major injury, so I didn't know what to do or where to go. So I spoke to Nate, and he's like, yeah, there's a surgeon in Marietta. Like, granted, he's probably a decent surgeon, but he wasn't a foot ankle specialist. He was a bit of a jack of all trades. And I had, like, shattered bones, broke all 5 toes, broke tib, fib, dislocated ankle. So, yeah.
In that accident?
Yeah, in that accident. So I pretty much...
Say that again.
Broke tib, fib, blew my knee out, dislocated my ankle, broke my talus, shattered my navicular, and broke all 5 metatarsals.
What are metatarsals?
They're the 5 toe bones.
Toes.
And then, it gets better, because that's why I got that permanent pimp limp. But it was like 2 weeks after surgery.
He does have a pimp limp.
I have the wires sticking out, and we get on the bus from LAX, and Sinclair, he's not the brightest spark. He picked up a map and started to walk backwards to his seat while he was reading it, and stood on my foot. So when I had the half cast and the wires sticking out, and then
he broke it again.
I don't know if he broke it. It definitely made some noise, and then it swelled. It swelled up.
On a plane?
Quite a lot. No, at the courtesy bus to the rental car place from the airport, and then so then I got the pins out, but then I got a MRSA, like the worst staph infection you can have. So they had to pull all the metal out and like drill the holes where the screws were because the infections go to foreign objects. So they pulled out everything that was holding my foot together in the right spot, and all the shattered pieces just kind of calcified where they were. So now my tib and fib are joined together with a 12-degree bend, and then my ankle sits 15 degrees.
It's not the only thing on the 12.
Hey, it's all about the angle of the dangle. So, but yeah, so that thing...
It's got lightheaded.
I've had like 7 surgeries on that thing. It's permanently fused, but it wasn't meant to be fused, so it's not straight. So yeah, it's...
Glad you still got it, like, at all, right? At
Yeah.
I was like, how's this ever gonna fix? You just kept listing things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the staff. Once they pulled the metal out, it wasn't going to sit in the right spot. So that was kind of shitty. But it is what it is. But I can't run. But if I got a moto boot on, I'm fine. So
that's all you need.
That's all you need.
How many surgeries have you had
on that ankle? Probably, I think 7 or 8
in total.
Yeah, in total, and then 10 knee surgeries, 5 on each. A couple of shoulder surgeries, plate and 9 screws in my collarbone. What else? And then a plate in my other foot. Just only broke 1 toe in that foot.
Oh.
Do they prepare you for what's going to happen later in life? Do they even really know? Like, how does that work?
Well, that's one of the things I wish I made smarter decisions, But, I'm relying on advanced medical technologies to cure arthritis, hopefully.
Good insurance.
But I mean, definitely my ankle, it's not good. I didn't really think much of it when it was younger. It's just when can I get back on the bike? But
Yep.
Now you start to think about it a lot more, and, my knees are pretty shot too, so I'll be staring down the barrel of a couple of knee replacements. My ankle's a weird one because my legs, tib and fib are fused, and then the ankle is so off angle. Like, they said if they're going to fuse it now, it'll just be an L, because I've only got like 1 joint left, 1 moving joint. So,
Jeez.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, because, I mean, I can still ride, but if I was to get it repaired now, I'm not going to have a year off and then make a glorious comeback at 38 years old to potentially break it again. When I get it fixed, I want to get it fixed and set it up so it doesn't hurt for later in life, hopefully. But, yeah. I should have got it fixed years and years ago, maybe like 2008, 9, 10 or something, but...
You think that would have helped?
Yeah, probably before it... Yeah, I mean, it may have helped, but if anything, I probably should have seen an ankle specialist straight away, and maybe it might have been fixed really good the first time, so... And then not let Cam stand on it.
Yeah, well, fuck Cam.
It's not his fault, it's the way it is. It was just... there was so many things that went wrong. There was probably the staff that was the worst thing that happened to it, so...
And now you're currently on Nitro Circus. How is it going out and riding? You know, like
It doesn't hurt to ride at all. It doesn't bother me. It's like if we go to Universal Studios, I'm like, all right, we're starting here and we're doing a loop. We're stopping here and like there's no zigzagging because I can't walk around all day.
Yep.
It just starts to hurt because my foot actually doesn't come up to 90 degrees.
right.
So anytime I step, my ankle joint bottoms out and my heel comes off the ground.
So if you're at Disneyland, you're on a scooter.
No, well, I mean, I'd like to, but yeah, no, I just suck it up. But it's the walking and stuff like that that makes it hurt. Because your boots, when you wear moto boots, your feet don't move that far. So I'm fine to ride and do all that shit. So it's good for that. It just aches every now and again, especially in the cold in Melbourne.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, I'm going home 2 days.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm going. We're doing a snowboard event out there with Tess Cody, one of our Monster girls.
Whereabouts?
Go to the Olympics. No, we partnered with Threadbow. Monster did.
Oh, yep.
So we're taking the whole female snowboard team out there, and Dusty's coming and a few other people. But Dad said Dad's over it. He said it's fucking cold.
Yeah, it's not good.
He said there's rain for the next. There's sun this weekend, and then there's rain for the next like 2 weeks.
I mean,
it's
Danny,
cold.
you spend a lot of time in the snow area, so when we say cold, it's sometimes not as cold as that. It's just that annoying, bitter, shitty cold. Like when at midday, the sky's just grey and it's gloomy and it's just not inviting to go outside.
The bluebird days.
Yeah.
Nah, not too many.
It's hard on the body and the mind, you know.
Yeah, well, that's when your bones ache.
It's good. There's a lot of puddles everywhere, and I like to run through them with my car. It gets me really excited.
You look like a puddle jumper. Yeah. Where do you think, like, obviously freestyle motocross has changed a lot since your heyday of 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, say? Where do you think it goes now? Like, where's the progression? Like, just recently we had Summer X Games. You do a lot of hosting for that now. I bet you it's more comfortable being in the booth than
definitely
being out there. And obviously you're one of the best people to do that because not too many people have been able to.
Been there, done that, yeah.
It's one of those things, right? Like, I've always been like one of those, if there's somebody hosting or there's a voice of a sport, you need the person to be able to know the sport. Like you've been around UFC from the beginning. You've been there since they started that company.
Yep.
When you talk about the brand, you know what the fuck you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
and there's no one that watches MMA that's like, Brittany Palmer doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah. Well, even like when we have like Joe Rogan, like, you know, these people, they don't only, they practice it as well, you know, which makes it just that much more.
Yeah, when someone's got the knowledge, it helps a lot. So, and it's like, you know, I could commentate, say, a skateboard content, but I wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about.
But you'd make it sound like you do.
But I know, I could bullshit my way out of anything. But yeah, like as far as the motor, you know, you've got Jimmy that hosts it, and he does all the lead in, lead outs. It's just like, I can call a trick because you know you've been there, you know the pressure situation, or you know how the wind's going to affect this and that, which, you know, so back to what you were saying about X Games, I mean, this year was awesome because they got a lot more practice time the year before, but the tricks, I mean, you know, one run had double flips, one run had double flip and front flips, one run had front flips and body varials. Like, the progression's gnarly. It's crazy. It's a lot better to see it back on a large course now because it really killed it when it went indoor at Staples and it went from, you know, multiple jumps, 90-foot dirt hits, 110-foot ramps to 75 up, 75 back, and maybe an 80-foot dirt hit. It just made it so boring.
Right.
So it took away a lot of the individuality and the creativity and everything. So now that it's back in a big setting like that, it's kickstarted a little bit, but just, you know, the size of the sport as far as the competition, everything, like it's a lot smaller than what it was. Like X Games every year was just, whoa, X Games is coming up. You know, you had Staples Center, the Coliseum or Home Depot Center, the freestyle course was huge. So it's good to see that it's gone back to large courses and stuff. But, I mean, you are going to have to keep the standard ramps that we have, you know, the 75, the 110, because that's what everyone perfects the double flips and the front flips off. It's not like, say, a snowboard slope style event where the jumps, I'm not sure how exactly the same they are at each time. Do they vary a little bit? Like, one weekend might have, say, an 80-foot, one weekend might have a 60-foot, a little bit steeper than the one before, where freestyle, all the ramps are kind of spec, which we need because that's what you practice at home to do that double flip. So you kind of want the same ramp at the contest for all the stuff that we do. But it is good to add that element of dirt hits and stuff that's a little bit different. But you can't have a whole course that's just brand new stuff and expect everyone to go out and do like a double flip and a front flip, just send it off something different. So it needs that consistency of the ramps, but they're progressing too. Like the new 75 foot, they call it the next generation ramp. Levi Sherwood invented it. It's a little bit taller, so it's basically the same as 75, but it's 3 feet longer at the top, with extra length. So it just sends you up a lot higher and puts everything in a little bit more slow-mo and gives you more air time. So there's already guys doing bigger flip combos off that, and Elderberg front flipped it at X Games as well as the 110 foot.
Jacko front flipped the 110 foot. That's fucking crazy to me.
That's insane.
But that's my question of like, where do we go from that?
I think that now will work into a lot more riders doing front flips and then front flip variations off the 110 ramp, because I think the 75 they struggled just to get it around. So you've only really seen them mess around with no handers and little knack-knacks and stuff on the 75 foot front flips, just because their sole focus is their body weight all the way over the front just to get that thing to rotate. Where the 110, I mean, you saw Elderberg over-rotate a little bit, so if it gets to a point where they can they're not doing as much just to get the bike to rotate, they can start moving their body weight around to do combos in that. And then, double flip combos and stuff. I think that definitely is going to start to happen. But touching on what you said earlier about the motorcycles being specific, it is at a point where, to spin a double flip easier, you need a little bit shorter wheelbase. You need different offset triple clamps. You need to shave as much weight off the bike as you can. And it's like you almost need a factory bike, but in freestyle terms, where no one actually makes factory parts for it. So you all have to do it yourself, or get one-off things built.
Would that be like cheating in competition, though, if not everyone has it?
No, not
right?
really, because we don't really have rules for what you can run in freestyle.
Really?
Because, I mean,
you've
just got to ride a dirt bike. So, I mean, you can modify it any
do
way
it.
you want. Yeah, do it. If you're not cheating,
put a little engine on like a super boost engine that just spits you even further. Now I know.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just, it's how much, like, you want to spend it, or if it's even possible to spend that to make your bike lighter and what it can do and how you feel comfortable on it. But, I mean, Jacko does a lot of modifications himself and things like that. So it's
even from like a business standpoint, like perspective, if you were to do it and create a lighter bike, that $70,000 you'd put into it, you'd probably sell, 15 to 20 of them off the gate.
I don't think you would sell that many.
Really?
They're so specific, and like you're not going to have some random kid that wants to do freestyle that's going to buy that kind of bike, because you can do it on a standard bike. So.
Right.
Well, that's the hardest thing, right? Like, riding, racing is still very popular. It's very expensive, but are there many young kids still getting involved in freestyle motocross?
I think the level of it now, like to step into it, is so big to like be at a competition level. And the fact that there's so many kids out there now that can just do flips and stuff, and that's basically what you need to do, like a local demo. So there's lots of riders out there that are, making a living doing shows here and there, but the step that it takes, the money that it takes to either have an airbag or a foam pit to learn front flips, double back flips and all that stuff, to even now break into the contest scene is so far out of reach almost for most people that say, hey, I want to do freestyle motocross professionally. Like it's a long way to the top now. It's such a huge level, like, to get to X Games, and sadly there's not that many contests other than that to build up to it. I know you've got Benny Richards and his brother that Jacko's coaching at his place, and Benny's awesome for his age too. He's incredible. So, but other than that, like the age gap in freestyle,
he's a Monster Army kid, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's ridiculous. Like he's 21, I think, and then Axel's 26 or 27, Beeman's 30, and then everyone else is like 30 plus.
Yeah, and Axel kind of recreated what freestyle motocross is for him, and a way of like displaying it on social media. Yeah, X Games is awesome for Axel, and it's good to go get some medals, and there's some competition there. And again, like, fuck, man, they're going 50 feet out of that quarter pipe now with that landing. How big's the landing? 20, 30 feet?
I think the quarter pipe's 18 foot tall, I think, so the landing's probably 25 to 30 foot tall, because it drops down lower, and they were pretty much using that to its full, like, they were going that high.
They're in second gear,
and they were landing pretty damn hard when they were landing smooth. So
to go into third gear means you're gonna, if you crash, you're gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, you can maybe.
I don't know about that. Look at this guy.
You'll be fine. If he's fine, they'll be fine.
No, I'm talking about the progression of it, where it's at now. Like Axel told me that last jump that he had, he should have been given another jump, in my personal opinion. If somebody goes as high as Raha, then they should have let him try and... Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they're both going fucking huge, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see, and I love kind of watching that battle. But what Axel said to me was like, dude, like, if I had one more go, I would have obviously...
Give it a bit more pepper.
But he goes, that bit more pepper is me shit scared.
Yep.
And when something goes wrong, and then now for them to better it again, say they go into third gear, then these guys are going 60, 65 feet out? That's like... Should we be watching this? Should we be condoning this?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like
how many gears are there? 5 gears, and you're only in second. I don't really understand where the math.
Put it this way: no one ever went to watch Evel Knievel make it.
That's true. And Jacko broke his foot, punched his rib, and literally didn't go to the hospital, kept his boot on, and then was like, I'm going to try best trick. Does one jump and goes, I shouldn't do it. But the fact that he didn't take his boot off so he could go test the jump to try and do best trick while he's got a broken foot, a punctured rib, like whatever.
Yeah, if you take your boot off it, then it can swell up and you might not be able to get your boot back on. So that was smart thinking right
I can't do anything if I stub my toe. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like, I couldn't imagine doing any kind of a...
You'll be right.
It's crazy.
The Jacko story when he got the helicopter back to X Games was the best one. After he crashed the double flip and smashed his...
Well, we were in Austin, right?
Yeah. And then, it was all cleared at the hospital. And he's like, hey, can I get a ride back in the heli? Jumped on his bike, did a front flip and won best trick. So, I mean, it's pretty much whenever we crash, it's the doctors like this, that. You're like, all right, how long till I can ride is the first question you ask. But back to the quarter pipe. Yeah, that is, so high. And that axle setup's probably one of the safest, with the landing going lower than what the ground height of the ramp is, nice and steep and everything. But yeah, the height they were landing, bottoming out really hard and landing hard. It was like step up one year at LA. They made it really steep, and I think they went over 50 feet. And Renner and Byton, I think, and every landing they were just like, wrists and ankles just really hurt because the jump was almost too steep. It was allowing them to go too high, but they just kept going over the bar and over the bar. So the landing, it was just too hard of an impact every time, but they wanted to win, so they kept going and going, and it was I felt it in my wrists and ankles every time they landed that step-up jump. So quarter pipe would be the same thing. If they're going to go third gear now, are they going to build a bigger quarter pipe and a bigger landing? Are they going to keep doing it off the one they're using? I mean... That was, 10 feet difference or 7 feet difference between this year and last year?
Yeah, crazy.
So if you do that again, I mean, that landing's going to start to look smaller and smaller and harder if you do fall.
And then that goes back to it, like getting into a sport to where, like you said, you either land in your podium or you crash and you're off to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's not the best,
It's not the best advertisement, yeah.
But it's
it is what it is. But that's why there's only a certain breed of people that
100%, and it's always been like that. There's always only ever been a certain breed, and that breed in every sport. MMA, snowboarding, skateboarding, the progression hasn't stopped yet. It's going to continue to get better. Medicine's getting better. Doctors, what they can do to fix people's getting better.
The safety, airbag landing.
Airbags
to practice.
One thing I wanted to ask, I know you guys use it a little bit on Nitro Circus and you've done it. What's your opinion on the soft bag landing?
I love it because I crashed on it. So it's good and bad because some of them... I've noticed on Nitro Circus, because you sink when you land, it actually rubs on your boots. So as you ride down, and if your toes aren't pointed all the way in, or your foot's just a little bit off, and you sink, it can rip your foot off.
Yep.
And pull your leg back, pull on your knee or your ankle. Or for instance, I slipped off completely and hit my chin on the handlebars and crashed after the landing, just because of the airbag. But then at the same time, you had another guy on tour last year, Javier, tried a double flip and did 1 2/3. And landed pretty much upside down on his face, the same thing that nearly killed Cam Sinclair on a dirt landing. And he got up with a bit of a concussion. As he landed on the landing, he disappeared and sunk to the point where he disappeared and then just bounced up and flung in the air and got away reasonably unscathed. So it's good for that, but there's been other times where people have sunk into an air pocket and bounced them, and they've endoed after the landing onto the hard ground and broken stuff. So... But as far as the airbag landings are awesome because, everyone says, you're a pussy, jump to a real landing. But, hey, that dude saying that hasn't broken shit before.
Yeah,
He definitely hasn't done a double
Well,
flip.
I mean, and it's given. I think, did somebody do a triple on a motorbike?
Yeah, Josh Sheehan done the first triple 2015
So
at Trav's that was to a flat airbag, to a landing airbag, and then I think he did 11 with the landing airbag.
Yep.
Rode out of it, and then they just took it away, and he did it to wood. So, but the good thing with the nitro one is it pumps to 3 different heights. So we start with the 75-foot regular ramp,
Yep.
then it goes up to use the Levi Sherwood next gen ramp, and then all the way up steep enough for the Moon Buddha ramp. So,
Yep.
real versatile. Like you can do that with dirt or a portable scaffolding landing in one setting. So
Progression.
yeah, you change the landing in a couple of minutes.
And if it's saving you broken bones for you guys, and then it's a good thing, especially for Nitro Circus, which is not a competition. It's a a traveling show, and
Yeah.
the show must go on. It wouldn't be any good if there's no guys on dirt bikes out there because they're broken.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
By the end of the tour, you got 3 guys left. But
So we're getting close to the end here, but you were actually through the years of Danny and Dingo, the TV show, you were one of our biggest supporters.
Big fan.
Huge fan of the show, and always supported. I remember the years you used to buy Danny's. You bought a couple of Danny's charity like boards.
yeah, I
and-
still got them hanging up. at home.
and all those things, and it's been cool, and unfortunately we never got you on the TV show.
You invited me to Burning Man, and then then you guys never ended up going. But I don't know if we
That
ever
was an
came
open
back.
invitation, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think they didn't want us in to film then, and now it got blown up by social media or whatnot. But the closest thing we can do is you're on the show now. But what Danny does is Danny works extremely hard here, and he's got kind of 10 questions for you.
10?
Not 10.
I don't know how many questions.
You can
he's
just
got.
add as many as you want.
And it's just like firing lightning round.
First thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah,
First thing
Brittany
comes to
jumps
your
in,
mind.
she jumps in. It's just one of those
You
things.
can't answer it, she will.
Right
Yeah.
on. Hit me.
Okay, what advice do you have for kids who want to be FMX pros?
Don't be a dickhead. No, wear your helmet. Don't do anything stupid. Learn from your mistakes. And if you're not wasted, the day is... No, forget the last one.
Most influential FMX rider of all time.
Travis Pastrana, hands down.
Aside from whips, what's the most boss air to throw on a dirt bike?
I'd say 360s. I love doing them. Just a nice, natural rotation, getting that bike to spin sideways.
Well, you're doing the best.
Yeah, I mean, Luke
He
Ackerman
does
now
do 'em
does
the
them,
best.
does them pretty damn good, that young German kid.
Yep.
But he's a lot bigger and stronger than me. He just muscles that thing around,
Yep.
and they're pretty damn impressive. But yeah, that and the quarter pipe bears, they just look so sick when they're flying.
Yeah.
I was bummed at X Games, the announcing we were in a trailer and I couldn't see it in person.
It was savage.
Yeah.
I posted a picture. Danny's like, "Holy shit!" Like just even out of the gate, it was like it was super impressive to watch, and the
Yeah.
level where they're at now is really cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to stick my head out the announcing trailer just to watch 1 or 2 jumps
Yeah.
in person, but I couldn't. But yeah,
How many combos have you created?
whoa, probably like 10. Lazy boy flip, cliffhanger flip, 360 knack one hand, 360 heel clicker, 360 indie, 360 no hander.
Didn't you create the one where you sit on your hand and then
real
it goes numb?
How did they get named?
Stranger.
How did they get named? Like, did you name any of them?
No, all those I named one something different, but it's usually just the upright trick with whatever you do
Combo.
before. But I called the 360 indie the Flying Dutchman. Basically,
Yeah.
that burger you get it in and out. It's just, have you ever had a Flying Dutchman? It's basically a meat patty, a cheese slice, a meat patty, and a cheese slice. That's it. No bun, no sauce, nothing. Just that on a bit of paper. And I just thought it's so gnarly that no one wants to touch it. So
Yeah.
I called the 360 indie.
Is that why you do that, the Flying Dutchman, and then do the one-hander lander?
No one-hander landers.
No one-hander landers?
Not cool?
It's got to be no hand.
No-hander lander.
Yeah, one-hand lands it. Yeah, they're dog shit.
Are you a boob guy or a butt guy? And when I say butt, I mean female butts.
Yeah, I was pretty on point with that one. But, yeah, no, I like a good set of knockers.
Are you going to bring back the Dutchie?
There's been a lot of talk on the internet. I think I might. I think I will. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
And any world records you'd like to set in the future?
Not break any more bones.
Not break any bones.
Yeah, no, I haven't really aspired for records. I don't know what lasts longer than Dingo before I get kicked out of America.
What about Yeah, hold on to your green card longer than Dingo.
Yeah. Don't worry, dude. We'll all end up at Bonnie Doon. We're fine, man.
That's it.
We're
Yeah,
good,
we're
dude.
sweet.
We got our holiday houses. We're fine. People will
good
forget
to go.
about us one day. We'll be fucking.
Oh, we'll be killing it. So much serenity.
All right. Well, there it is, Bilko.
Well, thanks
Bilko,
for having
thanks,
me.
That was a good episode. That's a wrap.
Pull your pants up. It's all over.
All right, so we're going to try something new here, and I wanted to bring in a crash segment for somebody that's broke 42 bones. I think this should be quite enjoyable. We'll see how good I am at using this, but where are we right here?
It's Mexico City, 2010. That's at elevation and struggling with the bike. Come up short. Boom.
Oh.
Hit my head. But everyone's like, oh, did you get knocked out? So touch wood, I've never been knocked out cold. But
So that's not a knockout?
no, but if you look closely, you'll see my goggles bounce up and the bottom of the goggle frames are like pushing into my eyes and my throttle was stuck wide open. So at the end, you can see me crawl towards the bike to try and find the kill switch because I can't see because my goggles are in my eyes. But yeah, so I was fine after that somehow. But
Pain scale.
it didn't hurt too bad, to be honest. I'm not trying to sound tough. That was
What
one of
about
those-
here?
Oh wow.
I just
gosh.
I was checking underneath I was checking underneath the motorcycle. I heard a
Yeah.
little noise there or something.
Is that
but,
the checking the oil?
Yeah, checking the dipstick.
I actually had an accident like this last weekend where a Sea-Doo ran over me, but I'm okay.
Someone else was riding it, or did you run over yourself?
Ran over myself.
Yeah, there.
That must have been a good feeling when you knew the back tire cleared your body.
Yeah, it takes a certain talent to run yourself over. This one, you just land on the airbag there, and it pulls my foot off, and I got an uppercut to the jaw and 6 stitches in my chin. That was a pretty.
You're like,
crap
I'm
one.
okay, I'm okay.
Yeah, I was at a baseball field, so it was safe.
All clear?
Yeah, safe. home run, Mexico City, trying dumb shit, 360 no hander, let go of the bars too early, and the bars went opposite lock and stopped the bike rotating, so I had to eject. You'll see as soon as I turn, then the front wheel goes the other way.
You're
Yeah.
sideways on that one.
Well, yeah, as soon as the front wheel turned the opposite way, when I let the bars go, it just stops the rotation, just turns into a pancake. You see the front wheel, boom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then it doesn't rotate
Do you
after
like,
that.
like, you know, like when we snowboard, like I know how to fall, right? Like you prepare yourself when you're falling, you're like hands up and just go. Like, do you prepare yourself for these crashes?
I mean, as I said, I'm like a cat. I always land on my feet, and I land pretty far down the landing this time, but
Don't cats usually walk away?
yeah, I crawl away. So, yeah, I've got pretty good situational awareness. Like, if you're under rotating the
Also-
flip, I know when to dive off.
Also, cats can go like 8 stories and land on their feet.
I think
That's
you
not
can.
right. I think
Just
it's-
like you.
Okay, so let's just forget the cat
wait,
reference.
Somebody's carrying you on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we here?
This is New Zealand, 2006. This is what's called a floater.
Whoa.
A floater is where you're going to do a flip and you kind of forget to. And yeah, there was like plywood before the ramp. Setup was pretty ghetto. And as I bounced on the plywood, it kind of just made me go, oh, maybe I should. And it was too late. I was hitting the ramp. So I half flipped and half didn't. And then my buddy runs over my head almost. He like took a chunk out of the top of my helmet with his foot peg, but it wasn't that hard of a
Oh
hit.
wow, that was close to your face.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can't show all your crashes, but I think...
Yeah, we haven't got all week.
I think we get the gist of it.
Yeah.
You have landed stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. I have been successful at some point. Yeah, landed some stuff. Yeah, so, but a lot of the times I've crashed. But, you know, to be old and wise, you must first be young and stupid.
I think you're still young and stupid up here.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't change.
Yeah.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny. Fueled by Monster Energy.